Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me fine. If you can just confirm that you can hear me fine and that you can see me fine. I hope you're all doing okay under the circumstances. I suppose many people have a lot to complain about, especially with load shedding happening. And tonight I'm going to give you uh, a very simple rundown of what is really going on, the truth, what people need to know. So I hope you share this and that we get as many people as possible to watch this video. Okay, I haven't heard from anyone if the sound is okay. Hi there, Ilka, Andre, Philip. Sound is good. Okay, Shona, Quantum Light Shares, Andre Koopman, Susan, Hester, Yolanda, Willie. Welcome here, welcome. Okay, awesome. So I'm not going to keep you for long. I know a lot of you people are probably experiencing load shedding at the moment, or will soon be experiencing load shedding. We've had load shedding 4 times today already, and yesterday we also had load shedding 4 times, and it was often for extended periods of time. And the thing that I need to explain to you is that it's going to get worse. It cannot get better in the short term. It's not possible, and I'll explain why just now. And then I'll explain to you why worse than this has happened many times in the past without people even knowing about it. Eskom has had worse events than what we're experiencing now at night. Hi, Gioreta, member for 13 months, welcome. Um, so we have experienced much worse, and I'll tell you about some of these events where I was involved specifically. And a lot of people ask me, how close are we to a blackout? And you know, a blackout is almost an impossibility if you can control the grid properly. And I'll explain that just now in easy technical terms. But we have had brownouts across the country on numerous occasions. Back in the day when it didn't make the mainstream media the way load shedding is now. Because everything is done on a schedule at the moment and people are made aware of it, they moan and bitch about it. So I remember a day when we had a brownout throughout the entire Western Cape, the entire Eastern Cape. There was nothing. In other words, this isn't load shedding. The entire grid was down. And this has happened on a couple of occasions. And so it's not a nationwide blackout, but province wide, we've had many blackouts. Nationwide, we call that a brownout. I remember at Retanga Junction, when it still existed, the theme park at Century City in Cape Town, the Cobra being stuck because it ran out of power. It actually needed power at a certain section to propel the Cobra up, and the people were stuck in the middle of the tracks, and they literally had to evacuate those people with special equipment. And people were stuck in lifts, many other things that happened at the time. And because it was just an isolated event and things got going again afterwards, the grid was stabilized and rebuilt, no one flinched. But this was the signs already since 2002, and this is 2 decades ago, that we're in trouble. So 2 decades ago, we knew that we were in trouble. So we are in serious trouble right now. I mean, not slight trouble. We're in serious trouble right now. And anyone that thinks that putting up quick propellers or solar panels is going to make the difference, you're mistaken. So we are going to go through a period now that is going to be tough. I didn't ask people while I was on my tour 2 years ago to become energy independent if they could, if they had the ability, the financial means to do so, for nothing. I did so to try and help you. And I'm asking people today to get any other form of energy that they can accumulate and store, like gas or whatever else you feel is viable for you. Get that sorted, because I'll tell you now why it cannot get better in the short term. because nothing is being done to make it better. So let me explain to you what's happening within Eskom right now. There's wage negotiations taking place, and what has happened is apparently the wage negotiations will carry on Friday, and the Reuters struck a deal with the unions that they get their workers to return to work tomorrow. These workers didn't just go and not turn up for work. They went and petrol bombed and burned down other people's houses and cars that wanted to pitch up for work, that didn't want to strike with them. And I want you to see this in a political connotation. I want you to see this from the same connotation that our ruling party, who used to be called a terrorist organization back in the day, the mentality that they come from. The fact that since the Zondo report came out, people made statements like that the ANC is bigger than the Constitution, bigger than the Constitutional Court and many other things, just like the extreme left has just done because of the Roe versus Wade that was thrown out in the highest court in the US. The left is saying now, we feel nothing for the court. The Constitution means nothing. The court means nothing. So you're sitting in the same boat where you're sitting with a ruling party that won't give up power without a fight. And you get the same mentality coming into Eskom, where you have workers there that say, if we're not going to get what we want, we will destroy things, we'll burn things down, we'll break things until there's nothing left. And in fact, it's not going to affect them if they do that, because they are prepared for that situation. The question is, are you prepared for that situation? And this is the shock I want to give you tonight. So the people that are threatening other Eskom workers to not go to work, and there's so many workers in Eskom that are working day and night, as I've said before, to keep the grid stable, to keep the power stations going. Eskom has trained so many people that are loyal, not only to the country, they are true patriots, but they are actually loyal to Eskom. And it's not because they're getting exorbitant salaries. At that kind of skill level, outside of Eskom, they could earn a lot more. So a lot of these people have chosen to stay in the country. They've chosen not to leave. So don't forget this. And when you look at the salaries of those people, they would earn a lot more outside of Eskom. So don't confuse that with cadre deployment, where someone is deployed that is not skilled, they don't know what they're doing, and they're earning a fat, cushy salary. This is not the case with most of these people. The problem is they are not given the tools that they need to do a lot of the work they need to do. But that is the current status quo with the units within Eskom as is. And we have over 440 people watching now. Thanks for joining me. Please share this video and like it so more people can see it. The problem is that we have not built new capacity as we should have since 1998 when the Energy White Paper came out. This is the root cause of the problem. So by 2030, most of Eskom's fleet should have been retired. We are literally having to run units to destruction. In other words, beyond their lifetime. And you are expecting technicians, engineers to work miracles. We're all talking, waffling on, moaning and bitching about Eskom, but we are not willing to do what it takes. There is no political will to build the infrastructure we need to continue running. You can't build a coal-fired power station and expect it to run for 100 years. It can't. You can't expect a nuclear power station to run for 100 years. It can't. Kuberg's life can be extended for 20 years, and people are even fighting that. It's like they want the grid to collapse, and this is what I want to bring across to you. There is a real international benefit for many international players for Eskom to collapse. And I always say, look at the evidence on the ground. Everything you see is showing you that there is no will. Nothing's being done like it should be done. And this is not about corruption. This is about technical things to actually stabilize Eskom with regards to building more infrastructure, stabilizing the infrastructure that is there. Last night, we lost 10 units. 10 units stripped. 10. Of which 3 were returned by this morning. That's 7 units less. That's crazy. Now, Eskom is losing units on a regular basis. Units do trip, but the rate at which it's happening now is unprecedented. And I put something out to the members earlier in the community tab where I said that once we go from stage 6 load shedding, which is 6,000 megawatts, to stage 8 load shedding, which is 8,000 megawatts, it's actually a huge difference. Because once you're at 8,000 megawatts, I mean, you are getting close to 30% of the generating capacity. If you lose a unit such as Cubic Unit 1, which is 900 megawatts, that 900 megawatts percentage on the amount of energy being generated is much higher. In other words, when you lose that, the shock to the grid is amplified like you cannot believe. The voltage spikes and everything because it sends a shock through the grid nationally. It can be felt. The frequency drops on the grid, and if the frequency drops too low, we'll lose all the other generators. So what happens? Load shedding happens. National control, regional control, load shed instantly certain grids. And that can mean a brownout of the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape, and areas like that for an extended period of time. And this is coming. In other words, where you're not going to just be load shed, but you're going to be without power for a period of time while the grid is being rebuilt in your province. Okay, I want you to try and understand what I'm saying now. There are good chances that in future, because this has happened already, that for extended periods of time, portions of the grid in your area, especially if you don't have a lot of generating capacity in your area, like in the Western Cape, Cape Town, we don't have a lot of generators here. We don't. So when the DA says we can just separate from the grid and be independent of Eskom, they're talking rubbish. They don't know what they're talking about. And I will take any of them on any day, as I have in the past in radio interviews, and I'll wipe the floor with them because technically they don't know what they're talking about. So you can't just separate from any grid and run independently because that smaller grid is so unstable. These people aren't telling you the truth. They are lying to you. They are blatantly lying to you, either out of technical ignorance or because it serves their political careers, like Jordan Neal-Lewis, who is the mayor of Cape Town. He blatantly lies. Now, he's not a stupid person. I've met him. I've spoken to him. So I don't know why he's talking the utter tripe that he talks to people about Eskom and just separating from the grid, because it's nonsense. We need a stable national grid, or you can have small little micro grids in areas. It's a very different scenario, and you need serious battery backup for that. You can't just roll that out countrywide overnight. It's not possible to do that. It'll cost an absolute fortune. So this is not an option. The people will burn the country to the ground before that is going to happen. So we are sitting in a situation now where I'm advising you to make sure that the time that you have Eskom power, use it as much as you can. Make sure that you have battery backup that you can charge during that time. We do it. That you have gas or anything else as energy in the meantime. Because until we change this governance system and we can elect people with a different political will that can use our taxpayers' money, not to repay a 550 billion rand COVID bill loan, but actually build infrastructure, we are literally screwed. And that is the truth. So what we need to do, and a lot of people have asked me, Desmond, what would you do if you had to be in charge of Eskom now? And it's very simple. I would cut out all the renewables instantly because that instability in the grid, we cannot afford. And what you do is you stabilize the units that you have. You get the public used to a certain load shedding roster, and you get them used to demand side management. And you start to do maintenance on the plants that you can. You send in teams of experts to plants to evaluate the plants and see where do we spend our time and effort first, stabilize those plants and make sure that they become prime examples of stable running units. And you make sure that they are looked after. You put up a security cordon there, second to none, to make sure that sabotage doesn't take place. This is not your home or your freedom. It's a flippant power generating plant. You can put cameras everywhere if you want. I would advise it and make sure that no idiot comes on site that hasn't been tested, that hasn't got a police clearance, etc. It should happen at all national key points. Then what you do is the power stations that aren't viable, you work them out, and then you get agreements with the renewable energy or other energy suppliers to say, okay, when we want your energy, you can connect to the grid. Not you connect to the grid when you want. In other words, when Eskom needs it, they can say, okay, now feed into the grid. We need the energy now during peak. Whether it's solar or wind or whatever, then you have a stable grid, and Eskom calls the shots, not just Eskom, but national control. In other words, a distribution system. And then you get stability back. Once you have that stability back for Eskom, because at the moment, every wind turbine that spins up and just starts supplying energy at whim, Eskom has no control over it. They have to purchase that power whether they want it at that point or not. It's madness. It has to stop. So we need to stabilize things and just start putting politics aside and use normal, rational grid control. It's not rocket science. It's fairly simple. So the first thing I want to tell you is we've been in far worse situations many times before while you were sleeping at night and you weren't even aware what was happening. But the next morning, the grid has been restored and you're hunky-dory, you're very happy. Your alarm clock is just a bit out of kilter because for some reason the grid frequency wasn't too good and therefore you lost or gained some time. That might have happened in some instances. But most people were none the wiser. The times it happened during the day, most people would know about it. Flip, there was this big grid disturbances. It's all over the newspapers and then it's forgotten. 2 weeks later, everyone's forgotten about it. But these were all symptoms. We have one of the best power grids in the world. Eskom's engineers designed some of the best power line systems anywhere in the world. The rest of the world learned from us. Make no mistake, Eskom was the top utility in the world. And now, I don't know where Eskom falls at this stage. It is a utility trying to just survive and cope with excellent people as well as deployed people. The two don't mix well. You can't mix experts with deployees. And deployees you'll only get rid of if you get rid of the governance system. So going and voting for another party in the system is not going to help us. We have to change the system completely to change the energy situation. Until we've done that, it's not going to change unless we get a new president or someone in the current system that slightly starts to change the trajectory. And I can't see that happening now. I don't see any politician that hasn't got some overseas countries' interest in what they are pushing. With energy experts, they are pushing renewable energy because there's some overseas company that's going to give them a big fat backhand if they actually succeed with certain projects. That's just how it is. I looked at an article today with a CEO of PPC Cement that says, but the people aren't rolling out projects, new build projects fast enough because they want to sell cement. He only cares about his industry. He doesn't care about many of the other things that are faltering or struggling. South Africa cannot survive without an energy backbone. The economy is built on it. Whether right or wrong is not what I'm debating now. The fact is, people, even in informal settlements, want and need electricity for numerous reasons. Most of the people watching now, you want and need electricity. And I can tell you, you're going to get less and less of it. It's inevitable because not a single politician is doing what Eskom needs right now. Not one. And it's not just Eskom. It's the sewage systems. It's the water supply. It's everything else that you're going to need to survive. And electricity is a form of energy. There's 5 things you need to survive. You need water, you need food, you need shelter, you need energy, and you need something to keep you sane. Electricity is part of that energy. And if you don't have energy, many people can die because of it. Chaos can ensue because of it. We are using electricity now to communicate with each other. And thanks for the over 600 people that are watching. Please like and share this video so that as many people as possible can see this. So I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm giving you the truth, the facts. It's inevitable what is happening right now. If we start building baseload capacity tomorrow, then I will say, okay, maybe in 5 or 6 years, when that is done, we will be in a better situation. But our economy won't be able to grow or use more electricity up until then. Can you see how our country has been sabotaged through lies? And the people that tell you, oh, we can put up 40,000 wind turbines at 2 megawatts each or whatever, 80,000 megawatts sending it off into Africa and South Africa. And then when the wind dies down, we have zero. So every single wind turbine needs baseload power to back it up, or needs batteries to back it up, or you need to put in 5 times to 10 times more so that you can get enough wind at different times at different places. It's going to look like toothpickville everywhere, because it is not going to work for us in this country. But here's the kicker. You see, if Eskom fails, then other countries can come in here, because that means the government has failed. Everything has failed. We're a failed state. Outside interests can come in and take over and literally control our future. Is this the end game? Like I said from the beginning, there's 3 things that will be destabilized in the country. The first will be the Zulu kingdom. The next will be Eskom. And then the battle for secession will begin. And you can watch the space. You will see it play out exactly as I've said. And I've said this 2 years ago. And I will stick by that, because I understand the plan of the global elites. I don't care what the local people in South Africa think is going to happen, because they are not the driving force behind these plans. There are overseas interests driving these plans, and the people that don't want to see it, don't want to understand it, I can't help them. They will find out in time, and that is the best teacher. Time is the best teacher. History is the best teacher. So what I'm asking you to do tonight is know that it cannot get better until we've done a complete change of our electoral system, a complete change of our governance system, a complete change in the way we think as citizens. And a start is for us to become less dependent on government and corporate control, which means that you need to be able to have your own water. If you look behind me here, you will see water cans. You will see gas. You will see many other things that I have and use to make myself more independent of government and corporate control. That control that we have given them. And remember, as I've said before, Eskom was put there first to make sure that our minerals could be taken out of this ground and shipped off to other countries. The same way the Guptas could come here and get billions out of the South African fiscus for other countries. And you know, a lot of people, and a lot of you might see that as a bombshell, believe that the Guptas could physically steal hundreds of billions of rands. It's freaking impossible. It's not possible. You can't walk off with billions of rands. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. That money has to go to another sovereign country. It's the only way. And they were agents for America and for the UK. And if you actually look at the route the money took, you will see it's not with the Gupta's people. People that believe things like this do not understand the greater plan. And the Zondo report doesn't even scratch the surface. It does not even scratch the surface. This is far more complex than most people can understand. I want you to know that at the end of the day, we are the people that suffer. We are the people that have to make up the difference. And I'm asking you to make up the difference for yourself. Don't do anything for me. I will look after myself and my family. I'm asking you to make up the difference for yourself. And if the people come and they put propellers everywhere and they put batteries everywhere, good luck with those repayments every month on your electricity bill, because it's going to cost an absolute fortune But say now they get this sorted in the next 5 years. They start doing something in the next 5 years. Can you live with what is coming your way in the 5 years now? Can you live till the end of the year and survive what is coming till the end of the year now? We're in winter. We're in the middle of winter now. And in winter, well, not quite in the middle of winter, but in winter, Eskom struggles the most because the temperatures are down. People have got heaters on. And we have the least generating capacity right now. We have 20,400 megawatts worth of generating capacity unavailable of 45,000 installed capacity. That's almost half of Eskom's fleet down at the moment. Most of them tripped or broken down, not on scheduled maintenance. We have 17,000 megawatts of broken down or tripped generating capacity. Now, this is not something that the writer or any of these people are proud of. It's not something they can do anything about. The plants are old. They are old. When they get older, you need more maintenance. At some point, it's not financially viable anymore. You need to build new capacity. Do you know of any new capacity being built that is baseload, stable supply of power? Besides Madupi and Kusile, which are patching up at a cost of billions to the economy because it was cater deployed contracts, do you see anything else being built that's substantial? When the guys are talking about a landfill flippant generating plant, generating 2 megawatts, come on, man. They mustn't come toy with us. It's a joke. It's a farce. When Cape Town says we can get more generating capacity from Steenbras, a hydroelectric generating plant, it's peanuts. You can't even drive a town with that. These people are lying to us. They are lying. So look after yourself, okay, and get the most out of Eskom. Listen to Eskom's warnings. If Eskom asks you to reduce your loads at home, do so. It's for your own good because they will reduce the load shedding schedule if they have to. The people at Simmerpan, at National Control, at Regional Control, these aren't a bunch of crooks. They're not politicians. These are highly skilled people. They know what they're doing. And they're doing what they need to do to keep the grid stable. How do I know? Because I've read their logs. Okay, these guys know what they're doing. I've visited these places. So thank those people for doing a flipping good job so that we don't have brownouts and blackouts up until now. But like I said, if we get to stage 8 load shedding, the chances of brownouts and a blackout becomes exponentially higher because of the smaller size of the grid. When the grid gets smaller, the loss of one unit can have a massive effect on the rest of the grid. The larger the grid, the more stable it is. And that is why I'm saying these idiots in the DA in Cape Town and the Western Cape, when they say that they can just create a smaller grid and supply us independently with power, they're talking twak. They're talking to a bunch of idiots at UCT, spinning them all sorts of nonsense, and they believe this crap. I'm so sick and tired of it, really. So thanks for coming and watching this. I've taken enough of your time. People, all you can do now is keep on fighting on the ground like we have been to change the system. It has to happen. At least Zondo gave us that. He said that the president needs to be elected directly. He also said that the MPs need to be elected in their constituencies. They've just gone and copied what Lauren has said since 2017. I mean, these people have no imagination of their own. So they have to listen to reason. And Zondo wants to come out of this whole thing looking like a flippin' hero when he's anything but a hero. I mean, none of these people are heroes. If everyone that's in parliament and in councils right now bugger off, I'll be very happy. And we get a completely new system and a clean slate of people. In Eskom, you don't need to replace everyone in Eskom. The cadres you get rid of. The old bullies that have been there for years from all backgrounds and religions and and cultures, you keep them there, you look after them, and you help them to build new capacity so that contractors from overseas don't take you for a fool. And it's basically build our own. Because I can tell you now that countries like Sweden, France, Belgium, Germany, the US, the UK will all try and rape our fiscus dry even further. They feel nothing for us. Don't think that they care for us. Don't think that the UN cares for us, that UNICEF cares for us, that any of these organizations run by global elites care for you and me. We are on our own. You are on your own. And if we work together, we can survive this. And we will survive this. And I just really want to thank all the people at Eskom putting in a hard time and effort. I want to thank the writer for speaking truth and saying that it's the fact that we don't have enough capacity, the fact that we need another 4,000 to 6,000 megawatts of generating capacity now. We can't just get it now, but we need it now. We need to start building desperately. We're not going to get it from neighboring countries. They need us. So people, please prepare yourself for any eventuality. And once we go past 8,000 megawatts being load shed, the grid becomes unstable. It's not a nice. Once you get to 10,000 megawatts, anything is possible then. It'll be better to actually cut provinces for the safety of the grid at that stage. It won't be load shedding, it'll be province shedding, literally, to keep the grid stable. And you know, the guys at national control and at regional control centers, they have to decide what's best. Politicians can't tell them what to do. This is the situation we're in. Cyril can't tell them. Gwede Matashe can't tell the guys at Simmerpan and in the regional control centers what to do. These people don't listen to politicians. They are trying to keep that grid frequency at 50 hertz. And for all the generators not to get a trip signal at once, which will dump us into a blackout, it's going to take at least 2 weeks minimum to get that grid back up and running. That is if you assume that the entire country remains sane and stable during that time. Don't lose their marbles and start burning everything to the ground. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. And please share this video with your friends and family. And just an absolute salute to all the heroes at Eskom working around the clock so that you can have electricity at this stage. Be very thankful that is the case. And please pray for the people at Koeberg trying to extend that plant's life with another 20 years. We desperately need that. If any idiot tells you that we need to shut it down sooner, tell him to really go to the shrink, which will be pointless in the first place. But have their heads read, because we need every bit of generating capacity that is baseload now that we can have. So we need the steam generator replacement project to be successful at Koeberg. We need the units to stabilize around Eskom. And the best way to do that is make sure that all the funds that Eskom has goes to the right place. And the next thing that we need to do is make sure that there's a political will to make sure that illegal connections don't take place, that Eskom can actually get the income that they need to sustain everything that they need to build and maintain, because that's not the case right now. You know, it's the ANC politicians that threw Eskom under the bus, and Mbeki was the first one to do so. You know, Zuma at least wanted to build something. I didn't agree with his Russian build plan at all. I fought it hand tooth and nail, but at least he knew that generation capacity had to be built. He was willing to do it. We just need to do it differently. And we need a president that wants to build generating capacity. And a little 100 megawatts here and there is not going to do the trick. Not if they're not available all the time and in a stable form. It means nothing to the grid. It will cause more grid instability. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Good night.